It was submitted as the Corbin.
Well, I know, but that stuff downloads, I didn't check the city,
Okay.
so.
Plan review goes to Clarksville.
The application online says Clarksville, the designer is important.
It was not in Florida.
Gives
From Primavera, same,
project information. So it's the core.
Want to verify that it's Clarksville.
Yeah, it's in Clarksville.
Using that.
What did you approve with those conditions?
I'm sorry, what were the conditions?
Weekly, a weekly,
Weekly inspection,
inspection of the locks and open valves.
and that's performed by maintenance.
Yeah, it's the EOC, so it's the safety committee.
What that,
Does that weekly inspection include and documenting?
Yeah,
weekly inspection and, reporting of, the locks and the valves, by the EOC. Okay, that's number one.
Okay.
Number two, an alarm lock on the PIV. Number three, a Knox Storts cap on the, FDC.
There you
And number four is, a lock on the hatch to the vault.
go. I'm sorry.
A lock on the hatch to the vault.
Anything else?
Nope.
Motion second. Yes.
thank you.
Okay, so next up, we have 24O and 42 A through G, Danville High School renovation.
Get the school board with you. I'm sorry, let's get the school board with you.
I won't need the school board today.
You got a tall guy.
Yes. Keep him in line. Ed Rensink, RTM Consultants. I'm sorry.
Peter Chester.
Okay.
This variance has 7 parts. The first variance deals with, new additions being put to the existing building, placing the existing building, over allowable area. The second variance deals with, exit travel distance exceeding the, maximum travel distance. The third variance deals with rooms being open to the corridor without being fire rated. The fourth variance deals with manual fire alarm not being installed with electricity. Fifth variance deals with
Sprinkler basin.
thank you. And then the sixth variance, that one deals with, not providing the sprinkler system over in the greenhouse addition. And the IDHS department recommend, approval for this one. And then the last variance deals with, not providing the fire suppression system over the swimming pool addition. And the concern we have with that one is we want to make sure that the sprinkler system is going to be omitted over the pool itself. Because there are other things going on that is.
Ed Rensink, RTM Consultants. We wrote up, well, let me explain the project here briefly, and then I'll explain where we are now. It should help speed this along. The project involves some additions totaling just under 82,000 square feet and renovating significant areas of existing building. The original building was built in 1971. And then there was an addition in 2001. I wrote these variances up based on it not being a fully sprinklered building. So that's why you've got variances. For example, the first 4 variances are we exceed allowable area, we exceed travel distance for non-sprinklered building, we have non-rated corridors in a not fully sprinklered building, and we want to eliminate pull stations, which you can only do in a fully sprinklered building. After some discussions with Chief Schuler and with my client, they are going to sprinkle the existing auditorium. The only areas then that will remain non-sprinklered are just the area under the planetarium dome itself in the planetarium. And you've got an attachment way at the bottom of your, should have told you that to go there because it kind of summarizes this. But the only thing not sprinklered then, sorry, back up here, would be the area under the planetarium dome and the planetarium space. It's just on the, alongside the auditorium. Won't be in any in the existing greenhouse or in the greenhouse addition. And then we're omitting sprinklers over just the pool surface. So the variance was to not sprinkle over the pool, but we understand that the fire department wanted to make sure that we are providing sprinklers literally everywhere else in the pool space, and we agree to that. So we'd just be omitting sprinklers over the pool. So it really I wouldn't have written the variances up the way they are today if we had ended up here. So everything sounds worse than it is. So we're basically asking for, let's think of the terms like variance A. If I've rewritten that, it would be for an unlimited area building. We would just ask to not sprinkle in the few spaces that we aren't, which 2 of them are already covered. In addition to what we're requesting for, it's really just the space under the planetarium dome area. And then the other travel distance, we meet current code for a sprinkler building for travel distance. So we retain one of the 2-hour walls in there in order to keep our travel distance within that limit. The corridors are non-rated. Now we're sprinkling basically over 99% of the building. And we do wish to not provide the pull stations as you would in a fully sprinklered building. So those are the first 4 simplified. The sprinkler phasing number 5 is a typical one that we do, and we are building additions and occupying them before we finish the entire sprinkler system in the existing building. So that's kind of a typical one I put in just because technically those additions are built because it's a otherwise fully sprinklered building. Variance 6 was for, as Denise said, that's a category A for greenhouse addition. And then number 7 was the sprinklers over the pool. We well agreed to sprinkle everything other than the pool surface.
So what is activating fire alarm or not?
That's right, a sprinkler water flow.
Just one.
Yeah, like it would in any school building.
So should we at least put a pole station in the,
Yes.
audit or the planetarium?
Yeah, I should have said that. There is a requirement to provide one in an normally occupied space, so that would be provided in the administrative area. Or I don't know if there's another location that would be.
Is there one in the planetarium where we're not sprinkling?
No.
Should there be one there?
No, because
There's not a sprinkle around it.
it's
planetarium.
Yeah, just underneath the dome.
yeah.
It's just the dome itself.
I guess. And actually, pull stations wouldn't really be required there because they would only be required at the exits. So
We're trying to make sure we get activation.
yeah, if you have a fire in the planetarium, the sprinklers will operate. They'll just be delayed somewhat because you don't have them directly under that dome.
Sure.
I'm Joe Schuler, the fire marshal from Danville. I agree with the variances he's asking for, especially since the auditorium was a main sticking point issue, but meetings and phone calls, it's all been worked out.
I didn't want to bring the school board in.
Any other discussion?
You don't want a gun to their head?
No.
Do we need to clarify somehow about the sprinklers only over the pool area itself? Since that was like a question from the staff review.
The stipulation be, the only areas not provided a sprinkler coverage would be sanitarium. The sanitarium dome, the area just above the pool. And obviously we have the greenhouse already. I'll second. The pool station added in the.
In the administration area, yeah, which actually the code requires that when you go through that exception. And
That one there anyway, so.
yeah,
You're trying to be smooth about that. So the motion is to approve the one that is A through G.
Unless you have one you want to pull out.
No.
Second.
First and second. Approval?
Aye.
Yes.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have 240143 Alpha Systems North Edition, Elkhart.
This variance is to supersede variance 200720, which was heard before the state commission back in 2020. This expired in December 31st, 2023. Having closed space sprinklers will require.
And Dallas Bailey Consulting. The previous variance that was heard, there was some property buyouts and other things going on. And after reviewing the past variance, I think the issue came down to the mobile office structure in the southwest corner of the building. And I think they were talking about either moving it or sprinkling it. And as I looked at the project, that wasn't really the issue with the variance. That whole west side of that building only had 15 feet of property line distance, so it was over area. So just fixing that mobile structure by sprinkling it or removing it, we still had an issue with the lot area for that building. So subsequently, the owners had purchased that full length of that west wall, additional 45 feet of property line and property to give us that 60 feet back. But if you look at sheet 1 and 2 on the site drawing that was submitted, on the record, they jogged the property line around the mobile structure, which is for a different property owner, tied it back into the original property line that moves south of the building. And the only thing we have is there's a little corner, 25 feet bay, that overlaps that little mobile office that we are using close space sprinklers and move before our firewall so we can maintain the 60 feet. So we can have that building as unlimited area. It's about 81,000 square feet for that building on the right there. So that's a typical variance we do. We do it with staff quite often to use that and move the 4-hour wall. And so really, I don't think the mobile unit was at issue. It was really the entire west side, and we fixed that. We just got that little corner right there that we couldn't mitigate the property issue. So the adjacent property would like to keep that mobile structure. Down the road, maybe a few years from now, they might remove it to put actually a permanent office building in, but right now they like to keep that there as their mobile office, which again is a separate property. But we do have the close space sprinklers in that corner that has an equivalent to the 4-hour firewall for the frontage needed.
They are using it as an office, not as a residence.
Right, his office.
So it's just down, just about 25.
Yeah.
Space for six foot on the center.
Yes, 12 inches from wall.
Let's see, yeah, time. Last time, what, 3 years?
Like I said, that mobile structure wasn't the issue when they put that time limit on there. That still was in violation because we didn't have full 60 feet on that side. So, I mean, we've done 30+ variances with the, you know, if I put a 4-hour firewall there, there'd be, yeah, we wouldn't even need a variance. But, you know, a short bay like that'd be kind of difficult and expensive to do for an existing building. Like I said, we've done this 30+ times.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm looking back through the original variance just to refresh my memory. Put the time limit on it because everything was still contracting works.
Yeah, I think there was a little mix up in regards to what was probably happening there. I think it might have been understood that somebody's gonna buy the property back and we would have a property line issue, but that's not really what was going on.
So they purchased that property.
Yeah, so they bought that extra 45 feet from the property owner.
I'll make motion to approve. Second. Second to approve. Vote to approve.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have 240144 A and B, 45 homes renovation.
This variance has two parts to it. The first variance deals with not wanting to provide a sprinkler system for the building. It was previously used as a motel and is being converted to transitional housing, which would require at least an NFPA 30R system. The second variance deals with not providing a complete 1-hour separation wall between the dwelling units. They're saying that they have the separation on some of the walls, but the ceiling is short. They don't have enough ceiling work. And the bathtub area that sits against the wall.
And this is Jordan Owens with MKM Architecture and Design, the design architect of record on the project. So the first, this is a structure that was constructed in 1986 as an R1 motel, now being converted to transitional housing building that will have residents in both transient and non-transient conditions from anywhere from 3 to 120 days. So we're looking at it as a change of occupancy from R1 to R2, which would require both the fire protection and the 1-hour separations between units. The fire protection is seen as a hardship as it's been evaluated as between an $80,000 and $100,000 cost to both get water to the building, sprinkle the building, and add bulkheads where needed to keep the fire protection lines out of the unconditioned attic space. And the separation concerns with the firewalls between dwelling units. There are equivalent to 1 hour firewalls between dwelling units, with the exception of the ceiling was not constructed originally as a 1 hour ceiling. So the firewalls would traditionally have to terminate to a roof deck in that scenario, which they don't. And there's bathtubs installed on some of the dwelling unit walls, which were not installed with drywall behind them to provide the 1 hour rating. So that hardship is once again cost and the requirement to remove the bathtubs, move framing to allow the space for drywall to be installed, and reinstall them in a 1 hour rated condition.
What is the total project cost?
Roughly $600,000. And we're making the claim, or we are adding as an additional protection, both smoke detectors throughout all floor areas, and which are not required in this occupancy per the building code, as well as horn strobes in the second floor dwelling units and corridors and stairwell that aren't required in a structure of this size of this occupancy.
What is the size of the occupancy? How many people a house?
So it's roughly 10,000 total square feet with I think 18 total dwelling units. The calculated occupancy load is 113 people total in the building. On the exhibit that was provided, there's an occupancy load calculation and chart showing the different uses.
Are you doing the third party monitoring fire alarm?
Yes, it will be an FPA 72 compliant fire alarm system with the addition of the smoke detectors and horn strobes as mentioned.
I know the local building official requested a compliance system. Is that meeting what they had requested, or is that separate?
That fire alarm system outlined would be above and beyond what they requested as a compliant system.
Okay. So what was the cost of sprinkle?
Roughly $100,000. With the complexity of the different trades involved, we don't have full estimates, but that was an estimate from a construction manager that's involved in the project.
Written estimate? Quote or just?
Not to date, with a large amount of that cost being the need to go through an adjacent property to get to a water main of size on the state road to the north.
But we knew this ahead of time, correct? Because you're changing the occupancy to an R2 transient, right?
Yes.
Yes. Cost of good business.
Would the submission of a written estimate be of benefit at this time? Or a critical piece of information at this time?
you would like to table this and bring that back. I mean, so.
You gotta get past the McAllisters.
But once again, that's right. You know, I mean, you know, moving in, you know that if you're gonna house 113 people, they need to be protected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I
Initially, we sign off to say, I don't know if we're signing. That was not protected. So it was complete.
So really need something in print on the sprinkler system.
And a motion to deny.
Yeah.
Would be my motion.
So written estimate of the hardship for both the sprinkler system and the fire rating concern, or only concerning the sprinkler system?
I would do both.
Okay.
Move to table.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Thank you.
Right, next up, we have 240145 Heiser House Restoration, South Bend.
All right, this request is to allow a change of occupancy. They don't want to comply with the current rules of admission, nor do they want to have a chapter 34.
Advancing RTM Consultants. This is a 1988, I'm sorry, 1888, single family structure in South Bend. This is it's in a National Register district. The structure was purchased by the Indiana Landmarks in 2012. They did an exterior restoration of the building. And they also demoed out all of the apartments that were in the building. So the building was, the apartments were put in the building sometime in the 50s or 60s. Nobody knows for sure exactly when. I read a couple of different sources on this. One lists 10 apartments, other one lists 12, but I think the 12 number includes 2 of them that were in the carriage house. So for many years, it was a cut up into 10 apartments. So last used as an R2 occupancy. So the current owner purchased this from Historic Landmarks a couple of years ago and is proposing to restore the inside of the building. They want to have a co-working space in the first floor and basement, classified as a B occupancy. There are some small meeting rooms and gathering spaces, but they have less than 50 people. So it's considered a B occupancy. Dwelling unit on the second floor and a dwelling unit on the third floor, and then one short-term guest room on the second floor. So it's considered an R3 occupancy, R3 and B occupancy. We're proposing a fire alarm and detection system throughout per NFPA 72, be a monitored system. Every floor does have 2 means of egress. Our maximum travel distance is relatively short, even measuring it down the stairs and so forth. It's 114 feet from the most remote point on the third floor. We'll be upgrading to all new egress illumination. Accessibility will be provided to the main floor of the building. So there are some improvements planned. As indicated, we can't pass chapter 34 because we get killed on the vertical opening category. So there's just no way to get that to pass. And we can't really enclose the stairs. Some of the stairs have some doors here and there, but they're not enclosed with a rated construction for the whole height. So we can't take any credit for any of the compartmentation there. So we're requesting variance for this change of occupancy. It's significantly improved from its prior condition. Again, a full alarm and detection system throughout.
Is the court not separated between the B and the F?
It's not separated. Yeah, it's a 3B building. I should have said that. It does have masonry exterior walls entirely, so there's no wood frame exterior wall construction. That's typically of that area, it's got wood floors and wood roof construction.
How many apartments will be in there?
Just 2 dwelling units. And they're not apartments. Well, I mean, I'm not sure. I think that the owner's going to be occupying the 3rd floor. It's a pretty nice unit on the 3rd floor. But just 2 dwelling units, and then there is 1 guest room or bedroom that can be used as an overnight guest space. But this won't be for the general public. He's a former graduate of Notre Dame business school there, and he's wanting to create a space for associates and so forth to be able to, and the community to gather and use the co-working space. But this isn't going to be rented out to the general public or used by or rented out in any way. It's not that kind of a building.
I noticed that the windows were replaced as part of the remodel with Indiana landmarks.
Yeah.
Did they meet egress requirements?
That's a good question. I just,
Would they be allowed to if it's, I mean, is the structure registered on the historic register?
yeah, it is, but I just don't know the answer to that, whether they meet that or not. They're pretty good sized windows. I just can't answer that. Yeah, they're good
I
size.
know you aren't the painted shut or anything like that.
Well, they're new windows, so. I'm sorry.
I hope that they're not painted shut.
Oh, my gosh, no. I mean, they're new windows, so I'm sure they're optimal, but it's just.
So, Bill, that person will be on the 3rd floor, and the other 2 spaces will be granite space, is that correct?
Well, just really, they could be occupied periodically, as I understand it, for people coming into town for events for Notre Dame and that sort of thing, possibly. I don't know. I'm not certain of that. It could be, but again, it wouldn't be just rented out to the general public.
There's still be, so if you live on 3rd floor, just one stairwell down, correct?
There's 2. Yeah, every flat, which was surprising to me, but every floor level has 2 exits, so 2 ways off. So there are 2 ways off, even the 3rd floor, and they're pretty remote.
Units with.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the 3rd floor is what that person is today.
Yes.
The 2nd floor will have 2 dwelling units.
Yeah, 1 dwelling unit and then a single guest room.
A short
Guest room. So
it's like Airbnb.
we only have,
If you choose. to use that.
yeah, I don't know. I suppose that's possible. I just get the idea that this is not going to be something to rent out to make money. It's not his thing.
I don't know, it's owned by Castle of South Bend LLC, so they know their brand.
I think he's just taking a lot of pride in restoring an old neighborhood there.
Beautiful homes.
Yeah, it really is. It's quite a story. That neighborhood was a really beautiful neighborhood at one time, and then the 60s, as happened in many towns, they bulldozed some of it down to make room for a 4-lane street. And it really was pretty devastating. There were several homes lost because of that.
So you sort of be a little work type.
Yeah,
So, I mean, what is it
Well,
gonna be then?
it's a co-working space. There would be people coming in from the community that I suppose they would have a membership or something like that, where they can come in and use the space for work, and they've got a coffee bar and that sort of thing. And there's some meeting rooms so they can conduct meetings.
It is open to the public or not?
I don't think it's a retail. That's not the idea. I was, Stephen, are you on the line? Greg Keel, are you on the line? Sorry to give you help on that one. I don't get the idea that it's retail, like, it's not the kind of place, I mean, it's not like a retail coffee shop. It would be something where I think that if you, like a typical co-work space, you would pay a small rental fee or something.
Membership, have access.
Yeah, yeah, that's certainly the idea I get. If they did have any public, it would be pretty limited. The spaces there are not very large. Everything's fairly small scale. It's somewhere around 7,000 square feet total. The first floor is just under 2,000 square feet, so it's pretty small for a plate.
But if it's private for his gift only, that's one thing. But if he's making it something, just like you said.
Right.
It's gonna be public if they're paying for usage.
Oh, yeah, I mean, in that sense, it's used by, it's more than just him using it, sure. But I mean,
It'd be nice to know exactly what the thoughts are.
Yeah, there's a conference room, so you're gonna bring clients that are, folks.
Right.
So from that aspect.
You will have visitors in there, that sort of thing, exactly. So I don't want to get the idea that this is totally a private club or something like that. That's not true. But
Interesting.
he's I don't know if he's on, I don't think he's on the line. He's a character. But he really is, he and his father took this project on to buy the home and plan to renovate it. So it's kind of a labor of love. I think he's going to make a lot of money off this, if anything. But he's got a fairly successful career in tech. So, yeah. So, he's
flush.
Well, I don't know, but he's secure enough.
We don't hold that against him.
He's secure enough. This isn't something, hey, I've got to make a bunch of money renting out spaces. That's just not the idea I get at all.
Yeah, the house is, I'm pretty familiar. The house is kind of, I wouldn't say unpopular, but it's not as well traveled as it used to be. So.
Oh, this place was terrible. Yeah. I mean, I heard the policemen had to make runs to this thing constantly is what I heard.
Still are not too far away from there.
Yeah, it was terrible when it was all cut up into apartments. I think people got very tired of it. And that's why,
Was there any, with the sale of the property with Indiana Landmarks, did they have any, covenants with regards to the use of the property?
Not that I'm aware of. I know that there's a professor at Notre Dame that was involved in some of the meetings that we had online, who is with the Landmarks, that has been assisting with this project. So
It does, in the article you submitted, it does say there are covenants. I just saw it as you were talking.
Those are typically related to any
Preservation.
any modifications that would be approved by landlords.
Right.
So in South Bend Tribune, right?
Yeah.
So it states that turns in problematic management into offices, a couple of apartments, and a venue for small public gatherings.
yeah, he really has a vision for that first floor space being something for people to come together, but it's kind of in a business sort of.
Do the apartments then lead into the main floor? They don't have do you have a direct exit?
They share space more or less. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that front staircase is pretty much open. I think there's a door that closes off the basement on the landing, but it's open. Floor plans are, prepared by Keel Architecture and show the floor plan. There is a back stairway sort of, but I'm not really sure of that.
So none of it's being sprinkled as well.
Correct. We're proposing full alarm and detection.
Are all the interior walls masonry or are they wood?
But it looks like slats. Where's there plaster? I see on one of them.
They're wood.
There would.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the question was about,
Interior walls on wood frame.
yeah, a lot of them have been torn out, but I think that, yeah, they would be interior, would consistent with the plan rebuilding. Yeah, I believe so. I can't say otherwise. The graphic here is a bit confusing on that, so I can't say for certain, but yeah, it looks like many of the interior walls are being retained. If you look at the second floor, there's very little new wall construction there. Third floor, there's quite a bit of new walls.
Is there someone online has a question for us?
He does, he's here for the Mass Ave project.
Oh. Well, this two.
Yeah, Bo. We're both here for the Mass Ave. project.
That's
Oh, I
why
was talking about Gerard. Okay.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah, somebody's hand up, one hand up.
Gerard Ellis.
Ellis Gerard. Right.
Yeah. Gerard Ellis, South Bend Fire Department, Fire Marshal.
Yes.
I just had a comment, maybe a suggestion. Steve Ziegler reached out to the fire department last week to try to go over some of the Kaiser home and what he's looking to have done up there. We've had an extremely busy couple weeks, this past several weeks. But we're going to sit down next week with the building department and take a look at this. And I was just wondering for the Kaiser house, if it'd just be beneficial to maybe table this until next month. That way we can have some other ideas and more information on hand. Because we have not seen anything yet at a local level for plan review, other than just verbally talking.
You know what, I agree with that, but with the article in South Bend says they're spending potentially up to $500,000 in renovation, and they want this very broad rule to do nothing. That just seems to be,
Well, I wouldn't characterize it as doing nothing.
well, we don't know what they're gonna do, right? But it just seems to me if you're gonna spend, $350 to buy it or whatever it was, another $500,000 to improve it, there's probably something more that they can do opposed to making a request to not follow.
Why don't, I would like to request pay for the variance. So
Yeah.
that's,
It says on the application, the previous interior build out was demolished to restore to its original configuration.
So there's even, more dollars.
yeah, I mean,
Have a request to table?
Yeah, let's do that. I think it's a good motion.
Second.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree.
Aye.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
And next up, we have 240146.
This variance deals with the location of 30,000 gallon LP gas tank, with the distance to the property line. The code requires it to be at least 60 feet from the property line. They're proposing 45 feet. The local fire official will oppose the variance.
Good afternoon. My name is Alan Gunkel. I'm with National Oil and Gas out of Bluffton, Indiana. My colleague here is Jared Gerber, and online should be Ben Alberly of All Acres Inc. He was involved with the construction design. Just to give you a little bit of background, National Oil and Gas has been in business for 85 years, family-owned business. We supply multiple types of fuels to all over Indiana, southern Michigan, western Ohio. We currently have 9 bulk propane tanks, and when she mentioned gas tank, it is a LP tank, not a gas tank. And so managing propane tanks is something that we know how to do. We've been doing it for a while. We're proposing to put this in a lot that we currently own, which is adjacent to, and we have a bulk fuels tank on the same, in the same area, same property. That's what we manage as well. So we do this on a regular basis all over. Our nearest bulk propane tank is in Columbia City. And then we have one also in Fort Wayne, side from what used to be Fort Myers truck stop. We manage those there. We feel that this is a good add to the Huntington community to be able to provide service to the farms, to commercial businesses. It complements what we do already. In the setback, when we originally worked on this approval, we were under the impression with working with Ben that the setback would be on the property line on the other side of the road. And so our design that we initially submitted was pretty close to, I think it was Franklin Street. So when we found out in meeting with, I think it was Chad Paul, building commissioner there, and the fire chief there as well. I think it's Tony or Leon, I'm not sure who, but both of them were there. They made us aware of the setback was our property line, which we were not aware of. But we had talked to, there's a slither of ground along railroad tracks that is privately owned. And we talked to that person and we asked if we could purchase, if you'd want to sell it, we could purchase that, move the tank back further to be able to still accommodate the size of a bulk propane tank and allow our trucks to come in off of Jackson Street, well off of the intersection of that comes together, and can go off onto Franklin and proceed out. So we would, in this part of this process, we'd have to purchase that property, which we have an agreement to do that with the owner that's along the tracks.
Where would that put you at?
I'm sorry.
Where would that put you at? You purchase that property, right?
It would allow us to set the tank back 45 feet, but we'd also be 45 feet away from the railroad track property line as well.
How large is that tank?
It's a 30,000 gallon tank. Most of your residents, 2,000 to 2,000 gallons. Yeah.
So the sketch you have in here is basically adding that 15-foot of the property that this drawing that you provided is assuming that you have the 15 feet.
50 feet. But it'd be 45 feet is what the drawing should show.
I mean, the 15 feet you're purchasing from the adjacent.
Yes, that would be on the back side. It would be, assuming we own that, it would be 45 feet away from property line to the tracks.
Yeah, you mind if I speak real quickly? My name's David Toysh. I'm the fire marshal for the city of Huntington. I was in the meeting that he was talking about. We talked about the setback requirements. I don't know if you got the diagram that shows where the land is that you can put that on. There's just a little sliver. I don't know if you got that packet in your packet or not.
Yeah, on site plan.
Yeah, and that's the little site that if you could fit that tank in there, he'd meet the 50-foot setback requirements that the Indiana Fire Code or the International Fire Code requires. So in order to do that, they talked about possibility of a variance. They said you can file for it, but to be completely honest with you, I'm not excited about that tank being in that neighborhood. As y'all know, LPG is flammable. Goes low to the ground. We're right near the railroad tracks. There's several houses in the neighborhood. And there's one provision in the fire code that talks about outlines restrictions for LPG placement that include restricting storage of LPG to 2,000 gallons in heavily populated or congested areas. While the IFC does not provide any guidance on what that is meant by heavily populated or congested, given the geographical layout of the site, it seems clear that the IFC provisions were drafted in situations like in Huntington. So that is why we as the fire department are opposed to it. We live in a world of what ifs and worst case scenarios. This tank was 1 gallon heavier, the setback, or 1 gallon capacity larger, the setbacks would then be 75 foot. So I know it's only has to meet 50 foot now, but now we're asking to reduce it to 45. And that's why we are against it as City of Huntington Fire Department.
If I could just respond to that. If I look at it from residential, I know the property lines, but if you look at the residential, it seems to be it's a limited residential compared to where other communities are. It's not like it's in the center of a subdivision. And if you look at how close one of the houses would be to our tank, it's almost 100 feet from the tank to the actual house. So I just feel like, given the limited use of this property, this is an appropriate use. And given that we're right there with our bulk tanks, it seems like it's an appropriate use too. That's just what I'm thinking.
I see there's also from homeowners, and it's a letter that oppose it as well. And not my backyard type thing.
Gotcha.
Well, the homeowners there don't particularly care to have this next to their homes as well. I understand that.
Yeah. Is Ben, are you on the line? Did you have anything to add?
Yes, unmute. And can you unmute?
Then you gotta unmute.
Nope.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the things that I wanted to bring up was that we have already applied for this with the state and got a construction design release with that tank being like 25 feet off that road. And the resistance came from the local. I don't know if it was a building inspector or the fire department or whatever, but I mean, this is basically as safe of a propane tank as I can build. I mean, it's a brand new tank. This is not a used tank. Most of the time we install used tanks. This is a brand new, never been used propane tank that meets or exceeds all of NFPA 58 guidelines for installing that tank. So like, as an example, we have to put internal valves in the liquid openings of any tank that's over 4,000 gallons. This tank will have them in the vapor openings as well. Not because we have to, just because it's another safety addition. At both the bulkheads, we'll have not only emergency shutoffs, but excess flow valves. So, I mean, you know, I understand that some people look at propane tanks as not safe, but I mean, we have elementary schools that run on propane that have a 30,000 gallon tank. Buildings, you know, I mean, commercial buildings, industrial buildings, we put these tanks in all the time. I mean, that property actually has fuel, oil, and other flammable liquids on it. So it's not like it's a new, I mean, I know it's a new chemical going onto that property, but they already live across the street from a gas plant.
Yeah, we have
30
operated,
seconds is okay.
we have operated on that land for 55 years, a bulk fuel tank, fuel plant with diesel, gasoline, very flammable, right just across the property, attached a few hundred feet away.
Is that in compliance location?
For 55 years it has been.
I'm just asking, so it meets compliance,
Yes.
but this one does not.
Well,
I would say their fuel tanks are closer to property lines, but again, when those were put in, would it meet the current compliance?
You're trying to.
I don't.
Sure that you don't have an accident.
Well, I'm just going by what the IFC says and what the requirements are.
Correct.
And I just want to make sure that's being installed.
I did have something else. This is a more recent NFPA 58 code book for LP gas. And it does illustrate in here, your distances in the residential setting from where a tank this size would need to set. And the measurement for 50 feet actually starts at the edge of the street on the side of the house, where the house is on that side of the street, not at the property line.
That's not. I see.
I just go by this one.
Right. Yeah, we're just going by what.
Was the required setback shrink if you reduce the size of the tank from 30,000 to 20,000 or?
No.
I think it's 2001 is where 2001 to 3,000 or 30,000. It says, I think that.
And you need 50 feet, right?
Only thing that could be an option, possibly if you're concerned about residential, is we go 50 feet from Franklin, but we're gonna be 40 feet from the railroad tracks.
I mean, the
Can I
drawing you
put
show,
one more comment on that real fast. The other thing with this is it's measuring on that setback. It's actually 10 feet off the road into this property is where they're starting that 40 foot or 45 foot measurement. So it's not only are they not allowing the road, they're not allowing the 10 feet on the national oil and gas side of that property.
who's not? Who's not? The code's not allowing that?
That, my understanding, the director of community development put together that map with easements and setbacks. And that's where he believes the property line or the measurement begins.
So is that property line been confirmed by a surveyor?
I would say no.
Yes.
Who said yes?
The building commissioner Shad calls back.
Okay.
He works in the same office.
So you're not meeting the 50-foot property line distance that's required by IFC, correct? So, and your drawing shows it like essentially perfectly north-south or whatever, or orthogonal in the drawing. Have you looked at rotating it so that you can get the 50 feet?
Yeah, but we're gonna have a variance of some kind.
Okay.
Even if you turn it. To turn it, it would go closer to the corner, one end would go closer towards the road.
I just have a copy of the survey.
Sure. Chad, just to clarify, in the site plan, that I'm looking at that was submitted, it's got a red triangle in that purple box. That triangle is located there, that would be compliant.
If it could fit within that, in that small triangle, yes.
When's that?
No,
National gas too. Yeah.
yes, National Gas 2. Those red triangles, those red, two triangles and one rectangle that's pretty narrow, but according to the site survey that was submitted by the local jurisdiction, if you located it in those areas, they'd be compliant.
Can you fit a propane tank in that red triangle area? Yeah. Not even a smaller one.
Well, yeah, but yeah.
Okay.
That's just a residential tank.
How active are the railroad tracks?
Active.
It's very active.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Low speed or normal?
Oh, normal speed. It'll slow down a little bit, but I don't know the exact speeds. Shad, would you know the rail, what kind of speeds they go through there at it? I'd say it's, at least 30 to 40 mile an hour.
This has been like an abandoned racks line.
Exactly.
This is the main line between Wabash.
Okay.
Yeah, go down into Peru, over into Ohio.
I'm inclined to agree with fire official. I mean, we don't have guidance of the definition of those terms, but I see how.
I'll make a motion to deny.
I will second that.
To approve.
Aye.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, let's go. Well, that was worth it.
I tried to give you a face like Christine. She's better at it than I am.
You just keep going?
Yeah.
You still want?
Last one. Yeah.
Huh? All right.
I understand. Yeah. I hate to be that dad. All right, so we got.
This request, we want to allow temporary use for up to 300 occupants. We don't have an exact date. They listed a few days prior to February 15th and a few days after the 18th.
Ed Rensink, our camp consultants. So the primary dates for this use is the All-Star Weekend from February 15th to the 18th. And I did list in here that they'd need some setup time and breakdown time, but basically the public uses during over that weekend. So we're proposing, well, let me explain the building a little bit. It's a building that was concrete frame and floor structure. It was built in 1917, 5-story building in a basement. It was originally the Mayflower facility, and most recently it's been used for business tenants, including the Center Township Trustees offices. It's currently being renovated for other uses. There's a current project underway that's exterior renovation and repairs, new utility infrastructure. They've also installed a new sprinkler system in the building. So this use, we're asking for it. Eventually, this building is going to probably go through a Chapter 34. It's just that we're not ready to do that just yet. It's proposed to be used temporarily for this use for the company Adidas, who is going to have some hospitality events, some project launching, and that sort of thing associated with the All-Star Weekend. So it's going to involve some assembly functions, assembly space, assembly use. The building is sprinklered. We've got 3 exterior exits, so we have plenty of egress. Emergency lighting will be operational on the first floor. The mezzanine levels, that they will be using the basement for just storage and staging, but no public use in the basement. So we're asking for this temporary use based on the building providing the features that I think make it safe for such use.
All life safety is operational.
Yes, sprinkler system is fully operational in the building. Fire alarm system will be operational on this floor. I'm not sure if it's completed on the other floors because they're empty, but we will have system. Sprinkler system is fully operational. We'll have fire alarm devices and so forth functional and operational on the first floor, as well as the emergency lighting.
Exits at panic bar.
Yes. Yeah, that was done as part of the shell part project.
Well, the upper floors are all vacant and will remain vacant during this temporary. And will there be any construction going on in those temporary?
Not during this time. No.
So they're not looking to occupy the basement or floors 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Right. They'll just be using the basement for storage and staging.
This will they be controlling access to prevent people from going to floors 2 through 4.
I don't know the answer to that, but I'm sure that can be.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Bo Pawhood with Landmark Properties. We're the owner and manager of the subject property. The stairwells that go to the upper floors will be inaccessible to Adidas, their guests, and clients.
Will that be a velvet rope or will it be something more substantial?
No, on every floor, there's a crash bar door that gets you to the stairwell. So those doors will just be closed and inherently locked off from the stairwell and locked off from the first floor.
They're locked on the stair side.
Correct.
David Carpenter's online as well.
Do you have
David Carpenter, Indianapolis building or Indianapolis Fire Department. Sorry, we don't have any objections. The one thing we would say is to get a current sprinkler inspection. We haven't received one of those in our system yet, where it hasn't been updated within our system. And then an alarm deficiency. There was some alarm deficiency, and I apologize, my computer died, so I don't know exactly what that alarm deficiency was, but to get that fixed and then get an IFD inspection would be our asks. Condition.
Just the two, just the IFD inspection and the alarm deficiency. The alarm deficiency is probably because we're doing some interior construction right now. So we put that in test, and maybe the dust is, set off a smoke or some called in to our monitoring service or something. But yeah, we can
it could be. That could be it. I'm not sure. Again, my computer died, so I don't know exactly what the alarm deficiency was, but we don't have a current sprinkler report in our system. And then if we could get an IFD inspection in there, so, but we do have an alarm report in our system.
Is it worthwhile to make it a condition that IFD inspect after the setup to make sure the doors is not secure as well?
Well, I made that condition, so. Approved with that. The condition that they.
Is there any-
Inspect and maintain the fire lines.
Is there any construction taking place, or is it just setting up and making it?
It's a pretty elaborate setup, but I'm not sure I would characterize the construction. It's some complex display type things and
Fixture.
yeah, it's a lot. of
Heavy
fixtures.
decorations is how I would describe it.
Yeah, I provided that booklet thing, which was, I mean, it's kind of hard to figure out exactly, but you kind of get the idea that it's.
A lot of it's power, I'm guessing. So there's somehow we're getting power in these light tables, displays. Yeah. I mean, there's that big one, the shoot display, that's an instrument table. So there's gotta be something going on. Unless there's extension to it.
It's not a lit table, the table is lit.
Isn't this event in a week and a half from now? Are they gonna be able to get all the safety things?
Everything's in place now. It's just.
Let's talk about the smoke and a few things.
I'm sorry.
It talked about there was a faulty smoke detector, something, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, no.
All right, I just wanted to bring that point
We'll
up.
have to hustle a little here, but I think they can do that. And there's enough sprinkler test.
Okay, they'll have to hustle.
There's a way out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not have to be.
You bet. Yes, and as far as permit requirements, that's not up to me, that would be up to our terminations plan review section.
Well, so they go, it's the fire department do an inspection, right? That's. To satisfy fire department will do an inspection. The fire sprinkler and the fire alarm system will need to be inspected, tested, and maintained beforehand. At that time, the fire department will do an inspection. Feasible before they open.
Sure. I like the secret review. Well.
That'd be my motion. So my motion would be to approve, and I'm seconding with conditions that they have inspection, testing, and maintenance done by a fire protection company for the fire sprinkler system and the fire alarm system to be compliant before opening. And Indianapolis Fire Department will do an inspection before they open.
Of the entire space
Of the space.
and the exit.
To verify exiting is. To verify. No access to the.
Verifying exiting and non-access areas that are compliant, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I have that we're approving the condition of inspection, testing and maintenance be done, to basically the entire way before opening, no access to the floor.
And IFD will perform an inspection before opening to the public. And Ms. Carpenter, are you okay with that?
Yes, I am. I put my information in the chat if Bo can look in there to get my information and contact me for the inspection, or whoever needs to contact me for the inspection.
Sure thing. I'll get you an email right now and we'll try and set something up for this week.
Motion to approve.
Aye.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And my dogs. I didn't have one.
That's very cool.
Okay, next up, we have industrialized building systems, applications of the.
Sorry, Dan, do you guys want to take a break, use yours, or?
We're like at 3 minutes to finish.
Yeah. If we can get this done in 5 minutes, we don't need a break. Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Go.
Okay, initial application for IU to be a third-party inspector. I believe we have no objections to this.
No objections. The fire marshal's office approves the, initial renewal or not renewal. Authorization.
Raymond, I have a problem, keep it quick, but why are we calling this IU? Like, I know it's safe, like, the application looked like it was safe built, was applying. Is it through Indiana University?
It's through Indiana University, yes.
Okay, so IU is contracting the safe bill for this, for these purposes.
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay.
You want to do both?
Sorry.
You want to just do them both and we'll do one motion?
Yes, that's what I was about to say. There's another one and it's just a renewal for, PFS.
Make a motion to approve the application for IU and the renewal for PFS.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
And then for our administrative review, we have one non-final order the commission will need to approve, that for the community school corporation, that is a non-final order to dismiss for failure to appear.
We just requested you approve the ALJ's non-final order. Yeah, there's nothing. Commissioners got up here at the written hearing.
Approve.
Second. Aye.
Yes.
Everything else is there for information purposes, you want to peruse that? Chairman, if you have anything power one?
Thank you for attending, I appreciate it. I'm sorry. Thank the last two meetings.
Do you ever feel, was there a position open that we need to?
Yeah.
It was good.
Engineer position. For the fire committee.
I believe he's talking, or are you talking about the remodeler position on the commission?
On one of the committees. The fire building. Just one of the stuff.
So once there was a vacancy on one of the sides.
It was fire code, so
Jared.
Just Phil. I just wanted to mentally make sure I. I'll be fine.
I know you're on track.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Yes. I know.
You're unplugged, Vicky.